Israel-Lebanon 2024, the new Middle East conflict. The piercing wail of air raid sirens shatters the quiet as the night sky lights up with anti-aircraft fire, a deadly light show above the Israel-Lebanon border. But this isn't a war movie. This is real life in September 2024. So what ignited this conflict, and could it reshape the Middle East forever? Let's dive in. September 2024 marks yet another critical escalation between Israel and Lebanon. But make no mistake, this isn't just another military confrontation between two nations. This is the boiling point of decades of complex tensions. With Hezbollah, Lebanon's powerful Iran-backed militant organization, in the mix, the situation has become a powder keg waiting to explode. To understand today's crisis, we need to look back at 7 decades of tension and tragedy that led to this point. The roots of this conflict stretch back to 1948, a pivotal year when Israel was established, leading to an unprecedented refugee crisis. As hundreds of thousands of Palestinians took refuge in Lebanon, the country's demographic and political landscape changed forever. By the 1970s, Lebanon had become the Palestine Liberation Organization's (PLO) base for its struggle against Israel, spurring Israel's 1982 invasion. That invasion paved the way for Hezbollah's rise as a powerful, Iran-backed force. Then, in 2006, the Israel-Hezbollah war left Lebanon scarred, with 1,200 casualties, thousands wounded, and extensive infrastructure damage. Though both sides avoided full-scale war afterward, they've remained in a tense military standoff, ready to retaliate at a moment's notice. Fast forward to September 2024. Months of escalating tensions finally erupted into a full-scale confrontation. The current escalation started with Israel's precision strikes on Lebanon's critical infrastructure, aimed at suppressing Hezbollah's activities. Hezbollah responded with a barrage of rockets targeting Israeli settlements along the border. Israel's response was swift, deploying more Iron Dome batteries and intensifying airstrikes on Hezbollah's suspected installations. This cycle of attack and counterattack quickly spiraled, pushing both sides into all-out military confrontation. This conflict isn't just between Israel and Hezbollah. Regional superpowers have entered the fray, each pursuing its own agenda. Iran, as Hezbollah's primary ally, has supplied cutting-edge weaponry and substantial financial backing, transforming Hezbollah into a formidable military force in the region. On Israel's side, the United States continues to demonstrate unwavering support through military aid and strategic deterrence, including deploying aircraft carriers to the Mediterranean. Meanwhile, Russia has strategically positioned itself to expand its Middle Eastern influence. The Arab states remain deeply divided, some openly condemning Israel, others maintaining neutrality, and a few quietly supporting Israeli actions. Advanced fighter jets versus guerrilla warfare. Each side's tactics show just how asymmetrical this conflict has become. The conflict kicked off with Israel's large-scale air campaign, targeting suspected Hezbollah strongholds in southern Lebanon. Using F-35I and F-16I fighter jets, Israel struck weapons depots, command centers, and underground tunnel networks. Their operations showcase advanced intelligence capabilities and drone technology, enabling precision strikes with minimal risk to Israeli personnel. Hezbollah's response employed asymmetric warfare tactics. They launched rockets from dispersed positions, utilizing mobile launch platforms and an intricate tunnel network to evade detection. Notably, they've deployed advanced anti-tank missiles against Israeli armor and special operations units for cross-border raids. Beyond the battlefield, the true toll of this conflict is etched in the lives of innocent civilians. The human cost of this conflict is staggering. In Lebanon, we're looking at over 300 civilian casualties, thousands injured, and more than 100,000 internally displaced. Critical infrastructure, hospitals, schools, power stations, severely damaged. On the Israeli side, despite the Iron Dome's effectiveness, Hezbollah's rocket attacks have forced tens of thousands from border communities to evacuate. Jewish communities in northern Israel live under constant alert, causing severe disruption to both civilian life and economic activities. With cutting-edge technology and intelligence, Israel should have the upper hand. But Hezbollah's adaptive tactics prove this battle is far from straightforward. From a tactical perspective, Israel has demonstrated clear superiority in both technology and air power. Their advanced command and control systems enable highly coordinated strike operations, while their intelligence gathering capabilities provide pinpoint target acquisition. However, these conventional warfare advantages have shown significant limitations when facing an unconventional adversary like Hezbollah. Israel's sophisticated military machine has particularly struggled with two key challenges: intercepting sporadic rocket launches and maintaining effective border security. Looking at Hezbollah's playbook, they've demonstrated remarkable tactical adaptability against a superior force. Their guerrilla warfare strategy, combined with masterful use of complex terrain and an extensive tunnel network, has allowed them to maintain offensive capabilities despite taking heavy losses. What's particularly noteworthy is their dispersed launch strategy. By constantly relocating their rocket platforms using a shoot and scoot approach, they've created a significant defensive challenge for Israel. This has forced Tel Aviv to maintain an extremely high state of alert along the entire northern border, a resource-intensive commitment that tests even Israel's substantial military capabilities. With every strike, the humanitarian crisis worsens. Will Lebanon's already struggling infrastructure survive this conflict? The humanitarian crisis in Lebanon has reached critical levels, particularly in the south. We're tracking approximately 500,000 displaced civilians, most crowded into temporary refugee camps under severe resource constraints. Lebanon's healthcare system, already crippled by economic crisis, is now facing catastrophic pressure, dealing with mass casualties. Let me break down the infrastructure damage. 60% of power grid destroyed in southern Lebanon, 40% of clean water systems compromised, and we're seeing widespread disruption of essential supply lines. This isn't just about statistics. We're talking about a complete breakdown of basic civilian infrastructure. Lebanon's political landscape is fractured. Could Hezbollah's involvement spell more turmoil for the country's fragile government? The political landscape in Lebanon is experiencing a seismic shift. Hezbollah's decision to engage in this conflict has created deep societal divisions. While their hardcore supporters frame this as resistance against Israeli aggression, many Lebanese citizens are questioning the heavy price their country's paying for Hezbollah's military adventurism. Lebanon's government, already operating on life support, is now in critical condition. We're seeing increased calls for structural reforms to limit the influence of non-state armed groups. Ironically, despite military setbacks, Hezbollah's political standing among their base has solidified. The regional chessboard has been completely reshuffled. The Abraham Accords' progress in normalizing Arab-Israeli relations? Effectively frozen. Saudi-Israeli normalization talks? Off the table. Countries that had signed peace deals with Israel are facing intense domestic pressure. Iran has emerged as a strategic winner, leveraging Hezbollah's actions to reinforce its position as the primary counterweight to U.S.-Israeli influence. This has forced Washington to recalibrate its entire Middle East strategy, while Russia and China are exploiting diplomatic openings. With global powers watching, the United Nations efforts seem futile. So who, if anyone, will step in? The international response has highlighted the limitations of global security frameworks. The United Nations quickly convened emergency sessions, but vetoes from key players stymied ceasefire efforts. The US and EU continue to back Israel's right to self-defense, while advocating restraint. But the diplomatic balancing act grows harder each day. Meanwhile, developing nations and Arab states strongly condemn what they call Israel's disproportionate response. So where does this lead? Is peace even possible, or are we locked in a cycle of perpetual conflict? The future remains uncertain, but analysts project three possible scenarios. The first is a temporary ceasefire, a quick fix that may quell the fighting without addressing deeper issues. The second scenario sees an escalation, with more regional powers like Iran stepping in, potentially reshaping the Middle Eastern landscape. Lastly, a diplomatic breakthrough could emerge if international pressure and combat fatigue push both sides toward negotiations. No matter the outcome, one thing is clear. Sustainable peace will only come when all parties commit to dialogue, strategic compromises, and mutual respect. This is more than just a regional crisis, it's a global challenge. Each voice calling for peace contributes to what we call collective momentum for peace. In today's interconnected world, your awareness and engagement matter. If you find this in-depth analysis valuable, don't forget to smash that like button and hit subscribe. Turn on notifications to stay informed about our latest geopolitical and military analysis.